That's me.
It references you in every word.
Really? Why do you reference me?
I don't know, conversation, you just come up.
Do you never reference me?
I do actually. I actually am going to reference you in this panel.
What?
For what you said about Naruto?
I don't remember what I said. Oh, now I do.
No, because that was genius. Like, that was genius.
I don't think because I like Naruto in that sense. I think it might be my generation.
Okay, if everybody can come in and find a seat. This is way more people than I was expecting. I invited like a couple of my friends and I was seriously expecting to sit here with them in the front seat, like faking laughs at my jokes to make me feel better about myself. So I'm gonna go ahead and start because it's like a couple minutes till and I have a lot to go over. So this panel is how to ruin anime for yourself and others. My name's Katie, and today we're going to take a look at how you're not getting the best out of your least favorite and your most favorite anime. A couple of disclaimers. This panel is not spoiler free, but the stuff that I'm talking about is probably spoilers you've already heard of. I'm going to talk about the end of Evangelion, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of some stuff that happens like early on in Naruto and Bleach and One Piece. And Hitman Reborn. This is completely based on my personal experience. I did not want to talk about any series that I have not watched myself because that'd be unfair to the series and you guys. I'm probably not as funny as I think I am. I was making this panel giggling at myself because I'm awful. And you will see this panel like gets progressively more ridiculous as I got more and more exasperated with Attack on Titan. You might not agree with some of the stuff I'm saying in my panel. If so, tell me. I want feedback. This is a panel based on opinion, and I might say some ridiculous stuff that makes perfect sense to me. Just don't scream it at me, maybe raise your hand or email me or something. And finally, this video will contain video and sound. This panel will contain video and sound, just in case I don't want anybody like having a seizure on the floor. I feel like that'd be bad for reviews. Okay, so today we're going to talk about what ruins anime for people. How you can ruin anime for yourself, how you can ruin anime for others, and how you can avoid doing both those things. And finally, the unfortunate victims, the series that have fallen victim to either their hype or the fandoms. So what ruins anime? A lot of the time, it's people talking about it. I am personally guilty of this. If somebody talks a lot about an anime, it makes me want to see it less. Especially on places like Tumblr and stuff. If everyone is like, oh my god, this anime is so good, I'm like, eh. Very often, an anime is also ruined by its fandom. And that's another thing that I am also guilty of. We have all been in that situation where you didn't want to get into a series because you didn't want to be associated with the people that were fans of it. And very rarely, anime is actually ruined by people watching it. That's not what we're going to talk about. So how can I ruin anime for myself? So first you have to understand what hype is. Simply put, hype is to promote an idea or product intensively. If you're watching a series that has been hyped, the hype did its job. That is what the producers want. They say stuff, they make commercials so that you watch it. Really, they don't care what the series is about. They don't care if you like it. They make money if you watch it. Examples. That anime is the raddest thing ever. Totally gnarly. Or that series was the least radical thing I've ever watched, yo. So why is hype bad? What hype does is it will give you an opinion of the show before you actually watch it, so that you're going into a series already having an idea of how you're going to feel about it. So what ends up happening is you're either going to agree with that hype and you're going to be like, wow, this lived up to everything it was saying. This is so exciting. I'm going to go tell all my friends about this. Or you're going to be incredibly underwhelmed. And this happened, I had no idea about this until I joined Reddit and I realized that people that didn't like Cowboy Bebop actually exist. I had no idea. I was like, everyone loves Cowboy Bebop. Who are they? What? And then I was reading this and I was like, oh, I guess that makes sense. But I still love Cowboy Bebop. So, how can I avoid this? You have to understand that hype is unavoidable. Especially at an anime convention, you're going to encounter people talking about how great something is. But what you need to do is instead you need to hear that and let it pique your interest. Let something interest you so that you will watch it, but go into it with a very neutral standpoint. Don't expect too much or too little, or else you'll risk being underwhelmed or overwhelmed. You need to make sure that you take in all of the details of an anime so that, because there are some series that are typically not that great, but there are little tiny details that make them really amazing. Don't hate a series just because you were underwhelmed by it. Once I joined Reddit and I started posting on our anime a lot of people talked about how they were angry with how underwhelmed they were with Cowboy Bebop because everyone talks about it. And I'm going to talk about Cowboy Bebop today. And finally, don't hate a series just because everyone loves it. If everyone loves it, there's probably a reason. There's no need to be that person that's like, I only watch series that no one's ever heard of, because no one likes that guy. And we've all been that guy. I've been that guy. Okay, my favorite anime is Alien 9. Who's actually heard of that?
This girl.
Exactly. So how can I ruin anime for others? And to answer that question, you have to ask a couple more. Now, I want you to raise your hand if a fandom has ever ruined an anime for you. Now, that's almost everyone in the room. Now, does that mean fandoms are bad? No. I am not trying to say fandoms are bad. Fandoms are very good. Especially with something like anime, a lot of us have had an experience where we express this interest to everyone. And there's always that certain person that's like, ooh, you like anime? That's so weird. Who likes cartoons? They're just for kids. And what fandoms do is they provide a community of like-minded individuals. They give us someone to talk to, someone to relate to. Also, the things that fandoms can do when they put their mind to it is absolutely amazing. Not everyone here is into Homestuck, but I'm sure you've all heard of the Homestuck Kickstarter. We raised $2 million for a video game. Because why? Because we wanted to play it. And also they gave us free stuff. That's amazing. $2 million raised by anonymous faces on the internet, all liking one thing together. And that goes the same with fan fiction and fan art. It's crazy, the kind of stuff that you can find out there that is provided by the fans. It creates an entire new experience for everyone. And finally, it opens us up to relationships that we never thought we would have or have the chance to have. I hear a lot, more and more frequently as I'm getting older, of people talking about meeting their significant other at places like anime conventions, which is really cool to me. If I knew that if I wasn't into anime, I wouldn't be here right now, and I wouldn't get to make some of the friends that I have. So no, fandoms are not bad, but what we need to pay attention to is what fandoms are famous for. They are famous for fetishizing homosexuality and objectifying people and lifestyles. This is bad. This is horrible. And once again, this is something almost every fan is guilty of. I was that 12-year-old that's like, oh my god, I love yaoi so much. Yaoi is so cool. I just want to live, breathe, eat yaoi. Says this straight girl. This straight 13-year-old. And it's like, it's really sad when that's what people focus on in an anime. And that's what a lot of people that like aren't part of big fandoms, they look in on it and see these mobs of people just talking about these cute gay couples like it's their thing. Like that's the entertainment for them. And what a lot of fans don't realize is that the people aren't entertainment. It's what they make that is the entertainment. Also, fandoms have a really bad case of mob mentality. So often I have seen people talk about how they don't want to be part of a fandom because that fandom condescends on other fandoms. That happened really bad when Homestuck was first getting popular. It happened at a lot of conventions where people were like, ew, Homestuck isn't anime, how dare you cosplay from Homestuck? Now we really didn't have that problem here at Tekko because Tekko's kind of always been all fandoms are welcome kind of thing. It's never been strictly anime. But that happened, it was really bad at a couple of conventions. They're also famous for hijacking content, and I am sure if any of you have a Tumblr, you have seen this, where somebody will post a completely innocent picture of like a sunset, completely unrelated to any fandom, to any series, and someone sees this and they're like, oh hey, this is so relevant to Supernatural. And so they tag it as Supernatural. And suddenly there's this domino effect. There's nothing wrong with looking at something and thinking, oh, that's relevant to my series, that's cool. I'm going to tag it as this for my own personal reasons or to show friends. The issue comes in where we have this domino effect of people just starting to cascade these inside jokes that the person that posted this art didn't get. They have no idea what they're talking about. All they know is all these people are talking about these inside jokes that they don't understand. And when someone else steps up, like, guys, this is a picture of a sunset. It has nothing to do with your Destiel. And everyone's like, oh my god, these stupid hipsters don't get it. And I'm like, oh, it's a sunset. I don't know exactly what we're not getting. And I'm not an artist, but I knew that if I posted that picture of a sunset and I had someone call me a stupid hipster because I didn't get their Supernatural reference, I'd be a little bit offended. There's also shipping wars, which is so dumb. Guys, this is so stupid. Stop. I join a fandom because I want to talk to people about a series I like. If you don't like my ship, I don't care. You don't have to tell me. If I don't like your ship, I'm not going to judge you as a person because you ship that. And that's been happening so bad in Attack on Titan recently with everything that's going on. And I'm not going to get into it because it's a really delicate subject with some people, but the Arari shippers getting all of this flaming bullcrap for whatever. Shipping wars are stupid. You're making enemies out of your friends. Stop it. And then finally, hostility towards people that aren't in the know. I have seen so many anime fans turn around and say, oh my god, you stupid normal people, how dare you think you get me? After, feeling victimized by these stupid normal people for saying, oh, anime is so weird. Why would you turn around and do the same thing to someone else? Like, where is the logic in that? Like, I have been made fun of for being into anime before, and I wouldn't want anyone to feel like that for liking something that they like. I'm not going to make fun of someone who isn't into anime because they're not into anime. It's silly and childish. So what this gets us is, in fandoms, we always get vastly misrepresented characters and vastly misrepresented series. We get series being rated based on their fans. Now this happened with me. My personal experience, a couple of years ago, when I was a freshman in high school, I watched like the first 19 episodes of Hetalia. And then I came to Tekko. And then I decided I'm not going to watch Hetalia. I don't know what it was. I saw these people and I was just like, I don't want to be associated with this. I don't want to run around screaming, pasta! Like, there's just something about it, and I feel bad because I feel like I missed a good thing with Hetalia, and it's probably something that in the future I'll go back and I'll look into, but I feel bad for missing the boat when I did. And that's something you try not to do. Try not to let the people that are into a series affect whether or not you're going to be interested in it. And finally, don't judge people for the fandoms that they are a part of. Don't judge people because they're part of a fandom that you don't like. Like, we're all people, and we all like anime. That's all something we have in common. That's why we're here. So how can I avoid ruining anime for others? You have to understand what your series is about. And it's about its writing, its art, its characters, not its ships, and not its porn.
Sorry.
And don't get me wrong, ships and porn are important. But I find it very unlikely that the writer of Naruto, or the writer of Bleach, or the writer of Attack on Titan is really interested in any of us saying, oh my god, look at how hot these characters are. He's more interested in what we think about their story writing abilities. You need to understand that not everything is about your fandom. Once again, the picture of the sunset. It's relevant, but it doesn't belong to your fandom. You can't go around and stomp on other people's things just because you think they belong with your things. That's what toddlers do. And then you need to understand that not everyone is into a series for the same reason. I am a fan of Sayuki, and almost 90% of the people who are into Sayuki because the writer makes really hot guys. And I would be lying if I said I didn't appreciate that. But I also appreciate the story. And so just try not to discriminate against people at all, period. Like, no discrimination, that's bad. That's what gives anime fans a bad name. And so finally, the unfortunate victims. Today we're going to talk about the 4 major shonen series, Naruto, One Piece, Bleach, and Hitman Reborn. We're going to talk about Kyoto Animation series, and then in depth I'm going to talk about Free and a little bit of Kyokai no Kanata. We're going to talk about Evangelion, and Cowboy Bebop, and Attack on Titan. And then at the end, if I've got time, I've got a couple of suggestions. So first, the shonen series, the hype. And how I'm going to present this is I'm going to talk about the hype of a series, and then the bad hype, and then whether or not a fandom has affected it and how. So the hype with shonen series is that they're extremely accessible. They're everywhere. You can walk into any bookstore and there are shelves upon shelves of Naruto and Bleach and One Piece, and maybe not as much Hitman Reborn, but they're known for long-winded epic storylines that are about friendship and action and who needs romance or girls. That's for little girls. Go read your shoujo manga. And large fan bases mean more content, which is always good. So the catch. They're oftentimes considered too long. One Piece.
Whoa! No, please. It's just like, why are you going on? You ended your arc. Stop it.
They're known for recycled plot devices and character archetypes. I'm going to be using the phrase cookie cutter a lot because that's really relevant. They're known for having annoying characters, specifically protagonists and female characters. I go on animeplanet.com instead of my anime list because I like how animeplanet.com is set up. And you can like and dislike characters. And if you go onto their top 10 most hated list, the top 2 are Sasuke and Sakura. And number 3, and here's to put this in retrospect, number 3 is Shao Tucker. If you don't know who that is, that's the guy that fused his daughter with a dog. People hate Sasuke and Sakura more than they hate that guy.
Holy crap!
Okay, moving on. So the facts. Shonen series, they keep the content flowing. If something happens in Naruto and you don't like it, I guarantee you can go on to fanfiction.net and you can find someone rewriting that scene to their liking, or you can do it yourself. I don't know if you've ever looked at it, but last time I checked on fanfiction.net, Naruto has over 300,000 fanfiction. 300,000. That's longer than the Bible. They're known for large, diverse casts with characters that everyone loves. Like, you don't have to like the main characters, especially in Naruto. Every series has its quirk, and I'm going to focus on that with the shonen series, is what sets them apart from not just the other shonen series, but anime in general. They are accessible, like I said. You can go anywhere and you can find Naruto stuff. You can go to the thrift store and find Naruto stuff. And they offer more than just action and violence. There's a lot of friendship, and sometimes there's some romance. So first we're going to talk about Bleach. I am very conflicted with how I felt about Bleach. I liked it, but I didn't love it. But here's a couple of things about Bleach that make it unique. One, the monsters, you can see in the top right corner here, they're freaking scary. I don't exactly remember how they're created, but I know they eat a lot. And I know they eat each other. And I'm like, cannibals are scary. Yeah, that's metal as shit. And one of the things I really appreciate about Bleach is that if you look at the Soul Society, which is right down here, the Soul Society offers a really cool look at the afterlife. In Bleach, when you die, you don't just get to move on to paradise and you don't just go to hell. You go to this place where you basically get to live again. You get to work your way up from the bottom. It's separated into districts, and there are poor districts and there are rich districts. And it has its whole economy system, which is really cool. And granted, it's kind of depressing. Like, I live my whole life struggling to make ends meet, and then I die and have to do it again. But I appreciate that interesting look at it. And then we have Hueco Mundo, which is right here.
Yeah, it is.
Architecturally, Hueco Mundo looks really cool. I've never seen another design like this in another anime, and I just really have to appreciate, like, even with the monotonous color palette that is used, it's still an interesting thing to look at, which is really important in anime. A lot of people, like, really underestimate how important the look of an anime is. And then finally we have the antagonists, which are really interesting. And this is just talking about the anime because, yeah, the manga has gone on far longer than it should. And what we have with the antagonists is they don't all have the same goal, but they're working together towards their own goals. We have Aizen, who is your classic, I want to own everything now kind of guy. And he's your classic sociopath. He starts out cool and charming and no one suspects anything, and then suddenly he's stabbing people and little girls and everyone's crying. And then he slicks his hair back and you're like, who is this tool? Put the glasses back on. And then we've got Kaname Tosen, who I think is really underappreciated and also overlooked very often. What Kaname did is he joined Aizen because, as he said, he wanted to take the path with the least blood. He wanted to take the path of least resistance to peace. He wanted the least people to get hurt. And I don't remember exactly if he knew Aizen was planning on sacrificing an entire city. Yeah, small details. That's how Aizen looks at it. And then we have Gin, who is my favorite character. I cried when he died a lot for a long time.
Spoilers!
Hey, I said there were spoilers, guys. Spoilers, Gin dies. Yeah, seriously. And just what happened was he was that character who, from the start, no one trusted him. He was really creepy. He was really manipulative. Like, if you saw what he did to Izuru during the Soul Society arc, and it's not until that moment, right before they're leaving the Soul Society, where he turns back to Matsumoto and apologizes to you, that you're like, wait a second. Maybe he's not the tool. And that's when Aizen slicks back his hair, and you're like, oh, found him. Gin, his whole goal is to make the world safer for the one that he loves most, which is really freaking cute and really sad when you consider he dies in the process and Matsumoto's crying over him. And it's like the one time we're not focusing on her boobs. One second. So then we have Ichigo, and Ichigo is kind of interesting as far as protagonists go in the sense that he is not a friendly guy. It's not that he doesn't have friends, and he's not a total asshole, but he would rather do things on his own. Ichigo would rather not be with people, which when you look at all the other shonen series, it's just like Luffy, dude, he'd be the life of the party. Like, if I could have a party, I would just invite Luffy. Seriously, like, that'd be the most fun I've ever had. Another really interesting thing about Ichigo is that he does have some emotional baggage that isn't his motivation for fighting. His mom got eaten by a hollow. That is not why he fights hollows. And also, he was literally born for his role. And I don't mean this in the sense that he is a good suit as a protagonist. I don't mean that he's a good soul raper. I mean, literally, genetically,
His dad's
his dad's a soul eater. I think
His mom was
he was the captain of the 10th division before he came to Earth.
and then his mom was the other one.
his mom's a Quincy.
Yeah.
So it's just like he's like this crossbreed of badass that is made to kick butt, which is cool. So then we have One Piece, which One Piece is really interesting. I really appreciate the art style in One Piece. It is simultaneously the most realistic and the most ridiculously cartoonish art style I have ever seen. I have no idea how the writer managed to get this balance of art that is so silly. Like, freaking look at Usopp's nose. Look at it. And also, like, okay, and this is something I never even realized until I played One Piece Pirate Warriors. Everyone is just freaking huge. Like, enormous. If you stand, like, Sanji next to Kuzan, Kuzan's like 10 feet tall. And the best part is, no one questions it. These people are just huge, and everyone is okay with it. They're all human. And it's like, oh, yeah, he's up there. Cool. Whatever. That's irrelevant. Also, Ichiro Oda is the master of reoccurring characters. I have never seen someone use reoccurring characters in such an interesting way. We have, I don't even remember this kid's name. Kobe? There we go. Kobe. He's from the first episode. He cries and he makes that face a lot, but he wants to join the Navy. And he disappears after the first or second episode, and you're sitting here thinking, okay, that's cool, he was cute, I'm never going to see him again, and you come to terms with that. And then years down the line, here he is again, still making the same face, but now he's hot. and I was just like so blown away. I was just like, wow, this is really cool. And you get to see how he's doing. You're just like, oh, hey, Kobe, it's been a while. And then finally, pirates do a couple of things. And one of them that they're really good at is telling stories. And what One Piece does is it tells a story. It sets up this backstory of pirates with giant blocks of gold. And everyone, it's just like, it's a story I'm going to tell my kids. Once upon a time, there was a pirate named Gold Roger, and then I'll start rapping to them. and granted, like later on, we do get to find out more about Gold Roger. He's established as a character and not just a story, which is really, really cool. And then we've got Luffy. And Luffy represents the anti-hero archetype. And what I mean by that is pirates are not good people. If you look at old stories, pirates stole things. They violated women. They violated fish. they drank too much rum. They smelled awful. Like they never bathed. And they were just generally awful people. And now, in modern day, we still have pirates that take over cruise ships and kill people and start wars in small countries to make money. And Luffy is a pirate, and we want him to be a better pirate. Like, we don't look at Luffy and think, oh, Luffy's this smelly drunkard that likes to steal from babies. Like, no, that's not what Luffy is. Luffy's this goofy teenager that just wants to have fun and maybe find treasure someday. And the thing about Luffy is I have never seen such a doubtless character. Luffy rolls with the punches better than anyone I have ever seen. Something spectacular, something catastrophic happens right next to Luffy, and Luffy's just like, "Okay." I have never seen someone so unaffected by what is happening in the world around him. And it's amazing. Yeah, exactly. And finally, he's really creative in battle for the same reason as before. He just comes up with shit on the fly. It's amazing. And then we have Hitman Reborn, which was my favorite of the 4 major shonen series. And one of the things I especially appreciated about Hitman Reborn was the transformation in the art. If you read the first volume of the manga and then you read the last volume of the manga, there is a world of difference. And you can see that in the top corner there. Another thing about Hitman Reborn is, yes, it was published in Shonen Jump, but Hitman Reborn is probably about as close as you can get to being a magical girl series without transformation sequences. The series itself and the lore behind everything is very heavily reliant on a group of friends represented by elements that all pull together to form some sort of harmony, defeating evil. Yep. That's what Sailor Moon does. Yep. Now, with Suna, he represents the sky. And all of his friends, they represent different parts of the sky. The sun, clouds, mist, storm, thunder, and they all pull together and they form the sky. And then the sky is bad at sports and kicks some ass. Another thing that makes it more like a magical girl series is that it's not just Suna that's like this. His enemies all fall into that same form. And even later on in the manga, they get earth elements as opposed to just the sky elements, but I don't remember what they all are. And Suna is such a cool character because he is just genuinely such a good guy. He's a lot like Usagi from Sailor Moon in the sense that he's a freaking loser. He's not good at sports. He's not good in school. He's afraid to talk to the girl that he likes. He's not a coward, but he's a chicken. He's afraid of conflict. His mom kicks his butt all the time, even though she's kind of airy, and I don't think she knows where she is most of the time. But the really cool thing about Suna is that he genuinely does not have enemies. People will fight Suna. They will give Suna a reason to fight. And then Suna will defeat them and consider them his friends. Like in the first arc of the series, Suna is approached by Mukuro, who kidnaps his friends, and he says, "I want to kill all the mafia men. I'm going to kill all of the mafia men, including you, Suna, and your friends. I'm going to make you all suffer because you're all awful." Suna defeats this guy. And then later on in the next season, he comes back, and he's like, "Suna, I'm on your side now." And Suna's just like, "Okay, that's fine." He sees the good in everyone, and it seems kind of stupid, but it hasn't really hurt him yet. And the series is over now. They finished the manga. I'm about 35 chapters behind. And finally, we have Naruto. And Naruto is like one of the most heavily criticized series I have ever seen. And there are a couple of things that I don't think people understand about Naruto. I'm not going to talk much about the characters, except for Naruto himself. I'm going to talk about the fact that Naruto has the most in-depth history behind it that I've ever seen in any anime I've ever watched. And not only is this history in depth, but it's incorporated into the series in a way that it's like watching a freaking documentary and then making a live-action movie about it. In the Naruto universe, like, I can only imagine how long it took Kishimoto to come up with the Naruto universe, because so many aspects of it are so in-depth. There's a geography. Different ninjas from different parts of the world do different things. And each part of the world has a different history. And the skill mechanics in Naruto are so detailed. These characters, granted, yeah, they're stopping in the middle of the battle to explain to you what they're doing in classic shonen form, but it makes sense when they explain it. And also, I am going to talk about one character, and that's Rock Lee. I have never, and this is the only thing I'm going to say about him, I have never heard someone say they don't like him. And if you do say you don't like Rock Lee, you're lying. So finally, we have Naruto. And I actually did not come up with this myself. This was something that was brought to my attention by a close friend. Naruto has more traits of a villain than he does of a good guy. We hear very frequently about these protagonists that are given this God-gifted power and expected to do good with it. Naruto does not have that. When the series starts, he sucks. But he wants to be the Hokage. He wants to be the coolest ninja in the town. And he does eventually get that, which is cool. And then the series keeps going, which is also cool. Naruto has ambition, which a lot of villains have. And the example that my friend used is you have Catherine of Aragon, who is born into the throne, and she has that throne. It's hers to do with what she wants. But then we have Anne Boleyn from a different thing. These are not related. Anne Boleyn wants the throne. And do you know what happens because Anne Boleyn wants the throne, even though she is not born into royalty? She gets beheaded because she's viewed as an awful person. Like, Henry VIII did not say very many good things about her because she wanted power and she didn't have it. Naruto wants power and he doesn't have it, but we look at him as a hero, which is really cool. So now we're going to talk about Kyoani animation, or Kyoto animation. And I guarantee you've all seen a Kyoto animation anime before. If you haven't watched Free or Kyogai no Kanata from 2013, you've probably seen something else. Now the hype. Most Kyoani works are, their advertising is really good. They know exactly how to get us to want to watch their anime, which is really cool. And they're most often praised for their gorgeous animation. I've never heard anything else said about Kyoani other than it has good animation. They're also known for adorable female characters and their attention to detail. Now, the catch is that these series are too hyped, and while they are beautiful, the characters are cookie cutter. There's that word. They are recycled in not just other series, but almost every Kyoani animation. Frick, I keep saying that. It's Kyoto animation. They're also known for laying the fan service on kind of heavy, and not in the sense of like hot boys with sparkling abs, except with Free. It's more so cute girls doing cute things and singing songs.
Welcome to Lucky Star.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even watch Lucky Star, but I know the dance. Like that's what Kyoani does.
It's like the anime version of Seinfeld. It's literally about nothing.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Isn't funny.
Now the facts. The anime industry is famous for using shortcuts, especially in there was this whole slew of anime that came out in between 2003 and 2006 that just looked awful, and no one cared. And I don't know why no one cared. Inexcusably horrible. If you've ever seen, and it's so funny too, because some series they look really good when they start, but then they end looking really bad. If you ever saw Welcome to the NHK, there's 1 or 2 episodes towards the end of the series where I was like, were they drunk? And at first I'm thinking, okay, this is a psychological anime. Were they trying to do this? No. They were just being lazy. They were taking shortcuts with the animation. And Kyoto animation series look phenomenal. They are all gorgeous. It is crazy how pretty these anime are. And they really do. They pay attention to detail. What they do is they develop their characters through minute details in the animation, which is so amazing. to see in a series where it's so easy to cut corners on animation, for someone to develop their characters through the use of animation. Also, they cover multiple genres. It's great for people who are just getting into anime. Kyokai no Kanata, I'm going to talk about this quickly because I have a lot more to talk about. Kyokai no Kanata was beautiful. It was kind of cookie cutter. The characters were, I've seen all of these characters used before. However, they did something interesting with those characters in that they made their dynamics a little more unique compared to what you would expect. Like, they had the classic tsundere character, and you expected her to, like, fall head over heels in love with the main character, who's this dork and kind of sarcastic. And she doesn't. She views him more of a brother, yada, yada, yada. Kyokai no Kanata is a really good anime for people who are getting into anime. It's a very good way to get a taste for what you like to see. It has a little bit of everything. Also, this filler episode. Who here saw Kyokai no Kanata? It's also called Beyond the Boundary. Okay, well, a lot of people got mad at this filler because a 12-episode long anime does not need a filler. But this episode was great. I don't care who you are. They were dancing, and they were dancing for a reason. They weren't just dancing to dance. They were dancing because they had a reason to do it, which was so awesome. And they had these cute costumes, and I was like, wow, this is really cute. And then the next episode, they like dove headfirst into this really dark plot, and I was like, I like it.
I like that.
And then we have Free. I am sure more people have seen Free. Like, who watched Free this year? Yes, exactly. Now, Free is really cool because of what it started as, which was a commercial for Kyoto Animation. I have a video. And once again, this was literally just a commercial for Kyoto Animation. This had nothing to do with the series. This was a commercial for the company. And you know what we did? We saw this and we're like, wow, their butts are really pretty. Let's make it into something. And so Kyoto Animation said, wow, everyone thinks their butts are really pretty. Let's make it into something. And to be fair, Free was significantly better than it had any right to be, considering that's what it came from. The animation was, once again, industry standard. It was a little bit run-of-the-mill and closer to a slice-of-life anime than a sports anime. It was more so about these
Friends.
They're friends, and I'm trying to think of the best word to describe Haru without diagnosing him with something. Haru's a special kid. And it's about his friendship with his whiny, weenie friend, Grin.
And water.
And water, yes. The characters were developed so well in such a short period of time, and the attention to small detail was really phenomenal. Like, in this scene, when Makoto is grabbing Haru's jacket. It is very telling of both their characters, and this happens in the first episode. And then a couple episodes down the line, like when you're swimming. Whenever Go sits down to show them the pictures of them when they're doing their tragic beach episode. It's like everyone's like, yeah, we need a beach episode, and then we're like, this is not the beach episode we wanted. And I couldn't find a gif of this scene, which made me so mad. But just how the characters moved in this scene told so much about their characters. Like, Go walks in, she's like, come here, bitches, and she sits down like a lady, because Go is a lady. And she's showing them these pictures, and Makoto kind of leans forward, and he's a little bit more refined because he is the mom. Haru just kind of sits there because that's what he does. He's a houseplant. that swims. And then Nagisa does this really cute little thing where he jumps up on his haunches and he scoots forward because he's the fun character that's actually Satan. Like, I've never seen a more antagonistic good guy before. Like, he's seriously just so... I love him. And then there's Ray. He's a dork and sticks his butt out. He's that character, like, we saw him in the first 2 episodes. We're like, wow, this guy's going to be so cool. And then an episode later, he's belly flopping into a pool. And we're like, wow, we caught a winner here, guys. So then there's Cowboy Bebop, which was hyped as the must-see anime of the 90s. It popularized space westerns, which was an interesting thing that was said. Because I didn't know space westerns were popular. Oops. It's the anime that even non-anime fans like. I have seen so many people that are like, I don't like anime, but I liked Cowboy Bebop. And I'm like, that's pretty cool that it has the ability to do that. It had beautiful animation, untouchable to criticism. It had iconic characters, soundtrack to beat them all. It was the best anime ever.
According to the hype.
According to the hype. Now the catch is that it was too hyped. It's one of those series where everyone loves it, so I should hate it. So many people said that they were underwhelmed with Cowboy Bebop after hearing what people had to say about it. It was a little bit episodic, but it followed a theme. And the animation wasn't that impressive. Now, the facts. This anime, I'm not going to say it was the best, because that's opinion. You guys can decide what anime is the best. But it was better than a lot of anime, especially in the late 90s. It had an amazing soundtrack. There are so many people that think that the Seatbelts wrote the song Tank for Cowboy Bebop. Do you know how many people think that? And I'm like, that's so cool that it has the ability to do that, but that's not what happened. The Seatbelts it's a jazz orchestra that got together with Yoko Kanno at some point in time, but the song was not written for Cowboy Bebop. It had really impressive art for its era. The characters are developed and presented well. There's not a character in Cowboy Bebop that I don't like, which is rare. It was episodic, but it stuck to a theme. But most of its praise came from its status as a cherry popper. For so many people, especially if you were raised in the late 80s, 90s, it was your first anime. You either watched it on Adult Swim or you watched it when it was brought over from Japan, and it was your first anime. And for so many people, their first anime was their favorite anime. Like, my first anime was I didn't even watch Gundam Wing. I watched Endless Waltz, and I was like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. I had no idea what was going on, because I'd never seen Gundam Wing. And then I watched Gundam Wing, and then I watched Endless Waltz, and I was like, this is still the best thing ever! And then we have Evangelion. Evangelion is really, really important.
2 words.
To me and to everyone.
Play more.
If you've never seen Evangelion, I guarantee you it has still impacted your life. Impacted. But the hype is that this anime is too deep for you. How can we possibly understand this series that was written in the depths of its author's depression? No one can ever hope to understand Shinji's plight. Blah, blah, blah. It's the best mech series of all time, which is arguable, because are these giant robots?
Spoiler, no. Please stop.
They're the poster child. It's the poster child for a coming-of-age story, which is important for a lot of people. It's impossible to understand. Hella religious symbolism. This series supposedly pukes religious symbolism onto your lap, and you're just sitting here like, what do I do with this bucket of religious symbolism? And then there's what about that ending, though? And it had beautiful animation. The catch. This anime's freaking pretentious. It's really pretentious. Did I mention it's pretentious? It's confusing for the sake of being confusing. Shinji is horrible. I hate him. The animation is horrible. The ending is lazy. The end of Evangelion relies on shock value. The rebuild series lacks consistency, which is true. And Rei and Asuka are nothing but sex symbols. The facts. Evangelion is not a show for kids. And I'm not just saying that because of that one questionable scene in the end of Evangelion. It's just not a show for kids. But it's not the deepest anime out there. The author was very depressed. He was coming out of a mental breakdown when he wrote the series, but he's actually come out and said, I don't know where you guys are getting these theories. And I wrote it. And it's the bottom line is it's one of the most talked about anime ever, which is really important. You can walk into a convention, and I dare you to try this. You walk into a room and you just spew off some nonsense, but then tack the word Evangelion onto it. I guarantee you at least one person in that room will agree with you. So then we have Shinji Ikari. Now, everyone hates Shinji for the same reason they hate Holden Caulfield. And that's because you are him. You see Shinji crying, and you hate him because you are crying. Shinji, people don't seem to understand. Everyone's like, oh, Shinji's whiny. Okay, Shinji's dad took a clone of his wife to work and said, I don't have a son, here's my daughter. Yeah, this is not, it's in the subs. This is not Shinji, and he's standing next to little baby Rei. And I'm like, wow, father of the year. He's forced into this ridiculous situation using mental terrorism. His dad is like, hey, I'll love you if you do this. And Shinji's like, but why can't you just love me? I'm your son. And he's like, get in the robot. By the way, he's only 14. And someone asked at one point, this is so great, one of those overlooked notes in Evangelion, someone asked well, why do they use 14-year-olds? And Misato actually answers this question at one point, and that is, why not? She says, and I don't remember when, but she says they could use anyone. They could use anyone. Anyone could pilot the Evas. Shinji just had an advantage because of his mom having something to do with Orange Tang. His let himself be happy conclusion, a lot of people look at it as lazy and lackluster, but the bottom line was that was Shinji's thing, is he just had to let himself be happy. And that was really important to his character, and that makes him really realistic. Also, let me go back. With Rei and Asuka, people don't like Rei because she's crazy. Here's the thing, though. Rei might actually be, not Rei, Asuka. Asuka might actually be crazy. Her mother suffered from mental illness. Like this is said in the series. Her mother was mentally ill and hung herself. It's like, hey, Rei, hey, Asuka, come play with me, as she's tying this noose around her neck. And mental illness is hereditary. So it is heavily implied that Asuka suffers from some form of mental illness. She has only ever known piloting Evas. It's what she's good at. It's what she wants to do, and they take that away from her. The most pivotal point in her character is that they take the one thing she has and they take it away from her and expect her to cope with it. And all of this is going on. These are pubescent kids. Oh my God, I was a wreck when I was 13. And these kids are 14, and we're faulting them for being a wreck. That's just silly to me. So then we have the animation. Gainax is so famous for being lazy with their animation, but they're so clever with how they hide it. If you ever watched Nadia and The Secret of the Blue Water, in the movie, a third of this movie was just composed of clips from the anime, of this theatrical release. And on top of that, there's a scene where they're launching a torpedo. And they just lifted this animation sequence from another movie that they did 2 years prior and put this in the theatrical release of this movie. Gainax has been coming up with clever ways to hide their low budget forever. So everyone's just like, oh my God, it has these really artistic long pause scenes. And I'm like, no. You can think they're artistic, but the bottom line is you're looking at the same still panel of Asuka and Rei staring at each other in an elevator for a minute. It's not artistic. They're making you sit there while they save money. It makes a good use of background noises. There's a lot of cicada and a lot of button pushing. It's cute. It started the whole great where it counts trend. So I've got a couple of videos here. These are two angels. This is Ramiel. And this is Ramiel from the original series. That's what he did. That's it. This thing that's capable of destroying the world is just this octahedron that sings. So then Rebuild 1.0 came around, and they're like, well, we've got money now.
Oh boy.
And this happens. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Wait a second. Sorry about that, guys. A couple of fun facts about that scene. The voice actress for Ramiel is actually Helga Pataki. Not the voice actress that voiced Helga Pataki. They just got Helga Pataki. Also, the direct translation of that is, ha ha ha, look at all the money we have. So finally, the end. The last 2 episodes of Evangelion, the show had run out of money. So their options were, you don't get the last 2 episodes, the series ends with Kaoru's head falling into a pit of orange tang, or they could do this, and they recycled unfinished clips and regular clips, and they prioritized Shinji's closure. And then there's the end of Evangelion, which is best described as, ha ha, what? The end of Evangelion gave the best closure to the rest of the characters. They threw us a bone with the Asuka versus the Eva series fight. Holy crap. Even if you don't even watch the whole movie, just watch Asuka versus the Eva series. Don't even watch Evangelion. Just watch Asuka versus the Eva series and you'll love it. Yes?
Isn't the theory that End of Evangelion was also Anno kind of trolling the dark community of the death friends and stuff with the hospital scene and what Shinji's speech was like during those scenes?
Yes. What happened was, this was the author's attempt at making fun of the fan base because they got so mad at the last 2 episodes of Evangelion. Now, just to clarify, what happened was, supposedly, the last 2 episodes of Evangelion were what was going on in Shinji's head during the, how much time do I have left? What time is it?
2:55. Is there another panel after this?
Yes, but there's a half an hour, and I still have to talk about Attack on Titan. I'll go fast.
10 minutes over.
I'll talk fast. The last 2 episodes of Evangelion is what's going on in Shinji's head during the 3rd impact, where the end of Evangelion is the 3rd impact. Also, it had an amazing soundtrack, just the movie did. Don't even get me started on the original series, because if you sit for 26 episodes listening to Fly Me to the Moon sung in a bad cover, you're going to get pissed off. No, but the end of Evangelion had a really good soundtrack specifically for this scene. This is the only part that matters. I love it. Like, I was sitting there watching, I was sitting by myself at my computer, and I was just like, what? I love it. This is great. So finally, I'm going to conclude with Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan was the most talked about anime of 2013. If you didn't watch it, you heard of it. You saw people outside in bondage gear. Everyone is like, Attack on Titan is wonderful all around. It's an accurate portrayal of characters in a wartime situation. It's deep and thought-provoking. No, it's not. The animation isn't actually that great. It's another case of everyone loves it, so I should hate it. Taken over by crazy fans, poor writing, and as you can see, I asked the person if I could use this. It's what I watched, what I expected, and then what I got. And the facts. The soundtrack was amazing. Like, even if you don't watch it, Attack on Titan, like, go home and download the soundtrack and just make it your alarm in the morning. It'll make you want to ride into battle. The animation is amazing where it's memorable, okay? They focused really heavily on showing us that they could do really well animated fight scenes. If it's just like Eren and Armin sitting next to each other talking, the animation's not going to be that great because we're not going to remember that versus Eren flying through the air and then getting eaten. Funny fact, I was actually watching the show with my friend, and in that scene where Eren's just like showing off his abilities with the 3D maneuver gear, my friend goes, "Wow, he's really good at that." Right before the Titan pops up and grabs his leg, I was crying. The characters are really realistic, but vastly misrepresented. They fall victim to so many cliche themes in the fan base, it's actually a tragedy. So we're going to talk about the characters. These are the main three characters of Attack on Titan. This is Mikasa, Eren, and Armin. But I fixed the picture to show the actual three main characters. The main characters are actually in order of popularity: Levi, Mikasa, and Eren. All of the characters in this anime, and this is where I'm going to offend people, your favorite character is a weenie. This is where he should go to lunch. All of the characters in Attack on Titan are weenies, and I love them. The characters are only valued for the ships they're in, which is sad. And they frequently fall victim to cliches, vastly misrepresented. I already said this. Specifically, I had notes somewhere, but I lost them. But everyone's just like, "Oh my god, Armin's only a crybaby, blah, 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 blah." Armin's a freaking mental terrorist is what he is. Okay, Armin cries for like 2 episodes because his best friend is dead. Seriously, this kid... Okay, yeah, Eren's parents are dead. We get it, Eren. Calm down. Armin's parents are dead too. And if you read the manga, you just found out how they died. It's freaking messed up. His parents are dead. His grandparents are sacrificed to the Titans for crowd control. And his father's just like, "Armin, I love you," gives him his hat, and then walks away to die. And then Armin watches his best friend get eaten while saving him. I would cry too. Holy crap. But then Armin bounces back, saves everyone's ass, and we're still complaining about him? Maybe you're just jealous. And then we've got, like, John. He's a weenie. He's my favorite weenie. He starts out as this huge douchebag with really realistic goals. Everyone's like, "Oh my god, he's so selfish." And I'm like, he just wants to not die. I don't want to die. That's a pretty realistic goal. And then, you know what he does? He almost gets killed. A bunch of times. And he develops the most the fastest. And then there's Levi. Everyone loves Levi. Everyone's like, "Wow, Levi's so cool and he's such a badass." And everyone seems to ignore the fact that this is the guy that sits down at the table and makes poop jokes about their commanding officer. And then in the manga, there are actually scenes where he, like, laughs at himself. Like, laughs at his own jokes. And also, the scene, and this was kind of lost in translation in the anime, whenever he throws his blades into the eyes of that one Titan and then jumps up onto his head, he says, "Whoopsie." And stumbles, yeah. Like, he's not that cool. So, to wrap things up, pay attention to all of the details in an anime before you judge it. Form your own opinion on a series. Do not let the hype talk for the series. Let the series talk for the series. Understand that not every fan is the same, and never judge a series for its fans, or vice versa. I'll get back to these if you guys want to stick around and see those. Feedback. If you have feedback or suggestions, I want to hear it. That's my Tumblr URL and my email, and you can also add me on Facebook. I'm Katy Scarlett on Facebook. I'm pretty sure my picture right now is me on a telephone, and then my cover photo is him from the Powerpuff Girls on a telephone. Or you can find me at some point this weekend and yell at my face. My friend Alex and I are hosting a trivia panel later tonight at 8 p.m.
It's not octoerotica.
Yes,
guys.
in place of the Octoerotica panel, we will be giving away grand prizes of candy and honor. You guys can get up and leave now if you want, but I have some honorable mentions of series that you might want to check out. The first one, we've got Razafon, which is so frequently compared to Evangelion in a bad sense, but it's got good animation and good. It's good. It's good. And then we've got Mezzoforte and Kite. If you like action, you will like these. Mezzoforte is freaking hilarious.
Kite is brutal.
Yes, Kite is really sad and really intense. It's pretty freaking metal. It's not for kids. It's like 18 and up. Then we have Alien 9, which is the most metal anime I've ever watched. It's about little 6th graders hunting aliens in their school. It's so good. It's cute for like 5 minutes, and then there's blood everywhere. And then we've got Welcome to the NHK, which is really good. And everyone's leaving. So bye. Have a good day.
I don't know if I'm gonna play because I'm lazy. I was gonna go to another panel.
I do admit that.
What's it called?
I think Ava is still considered a good show, and I do admit that. And I
We're gonna
see
go
that
to panel Gaijins in Japan.
Evangelion is one of my favorite series ever. But part of being a good anime fan is being able to hate on your favorite show.
The things I hate about it, I will admit Asuka is infuriating times, but think about it this way. She's had emotional detachment issues. I can diagnose her as having emotional detachment issues, self-confidence issues, in general.